good and is so destructive? What am I talking about? Sugar. He's real sweet, but we're going to demystify sugar right now with Bryce Wylde, everyone.
You're so sweet. Listen, the only thing this stuff is good for is to get the medicine down. That's the only thing it's good for.
That's pretty much. I mean, over the years, we've seen through research that sugar is really having an effect on us, and it is not a good effect. No. I am a sugar addict, and so many other people are, and there's a reason for that. I want to start just by showing people how much sugar we're consuming as grown-ups.
Take a look at this.
In a year.
Shock you. In a year. Unbelievable.
How many pounds is that, do you think?
Added sugar.
Yes. So 138 pounds of sugar a year.
That's ridiculous. And it's empty, folks. There's nothing in it. Empty calories.
There's nothing in it. And so you think, okay, well, we're adults. What about kids out there? Obviously, they must be consuming way less than us.
Let me show you how much less.
Okay.
All right.
Show
and
us
this will
how much
shock
less.
you as well. All right. That's it. That's what our kids are eating in a year.
Oh my gosh.
Ridiculous, folks.
So
Crazy.
that's an average of 123 pounds of sugar a year. We've got to do better than that. I mean, and I'm putting myself in the same category. We've got to do better than that for our kids, and we have to do better than that for ourselves because we have to talk about what sugar actually is and what it is doing to us.
So let's educate, okay?
Yes, so let's do that.
Carbohydrates. What are carbohydrates? We think of them as perhaps bread and flour, but there's only really 3 types of carbohydrates. The most simple is actually sugar, what we know as glucose, or fructose, which is often found in our fruit. It's the fruit-based sugar, and it is not much healthier, let me tell you, when it's extracted from fruit, okay?
Really?
So that simple sugar, it's called a monosaccharide, which is one little ring. Your body uses that stuff real quick. We'll talk about that momentarily. This is a disaccharide.
Okay.
A disaccharide is a different type of sugar. It's a little bit more complex, but it's still quite simple. And this would be table sugar, which you just looked at, sucrose, okay? So that's the second form, very quickly used as well. This is what we need to consume more of because this is what nature provides us. This is a polysaccharide, or multiple sugars. And guess what? The body takes a lot longer to use this than this, okay? This translates into fat, and unused calories translate to fat much quicker than this because the body has to spend the time it needs to unlink all of this stuff. Break this down, energy, that's a sugar. Break this down, energy, that's another sugar. And it takes time for the body to do that.
Do we know where all that sugar sits in our body?
Well, this is the interesting thing. So when you're not working out or doing some major physical activity and you've just had sugar, hidden sugar, or any other sugar, a fruit for that matter, okay, it will translate into fat. Otherwise, it is translated into muscle. So sugar gets quickly absorbed by the body, and then what you do about that, the energy expenditure, depends on where it's stored. It will either store to fat if you're not doing anything, or store to muscle as glycogen, and then be used later on for energy. So sugar, we need sugar. Sugar's not all bad. It's just how quickly it enters our body, or how refined it is. Okay. So here's the brain is really smart. The brain needs micronutrients and antioxidants. It knows that, so it forages for it. Okay, in the hunter-gatherer days, we were looking around eating nuts and berries and seeds and so forth in small amounts at a time. These days, so much access to so much sugar. In fact, 60% of our diets is refined sugar, carbohydrates. In fact, if you went into a grocery store and you took out all of those things that contain refined sugar and carbohydrates, you'd be left with 5%. That's all that would be in the grocery store in this modern age, right? So our brains seek out micronutrients that are found in fresh fruits and vegetables. When we don't get it, we keep eating. Our appetites are unsatiable. So what do? We eat more of those carbohydrates that are spiking our sugar indices and our insulin, and then we crash, and then we look for more, and then we crash. We don't stop until we get those antioxidants that we need to tell our brain, actually, now we've received the nutrients we need.
So if I understand clearly then, the more simple sugars we're eating, the more we're going to eat.
That's exactly it.
Because we're out there searching. Our brain is searching for what we could actually find in natural fruits and vegetables.
Absolutely, bingo,
and then stop the process. So that's the addiction, people.
And that's the addiction. And
that's why it's happening.
And then it's translating into this. And you know, the average consumer on an annual basis, when you're consuming that much sugar, it translates into an additional 13 pounds of stored fat tissue.
Oh my gosh, that's 1
easy to
pound
imagine.
right
That's
there?
1 pound right here. 13 more of these around the body, and if you don't lose it that year, it's going to translate to another 13 the year after. So vicious cycle.
Okay, so we've talked a little bit about how the body metabolizes natural sugars versus processed. So go for the apple versus anything that is processed,
So what is the biggest difference between processed and unprocessed, or naturally occurring? The amount of fiber and often protein. So our bodies need fat, sugar, and protein.
Yeah.
Sugar is the most accessible and it's the most quickly used, right?
Yes.
But if you go to a fruit, even a high fructose containing fruit like a banana, there's also lots of fiber in there. So again, slow transit. Remember, the long chains are the ones that our bodies not only need more of,
yes,
but they are the slower to release and therefore unlikely to turn into fat tissue.
Fat.
Right?
Okay.
This all happened in the early 60s when fat was vilified. It was the leading contributor to heart disease. We know now it's not true. So what did they manufacture more of?
Fat-free foods.
Which has more of?
Sugar.
And we ate more of that.
A lot of it. And I remember even, so that started in the 60s. I would have been a kid in the 80s, and the 80s, fat-free food was everywhere.
Everywhere.
You were trying to get all the fat-free packaged foods, thinking that you were doing your body good. And now we're in this situation where we have a society that's addicted to the sugar.
Absolutely. And I have to mention something, folks. I'm a huge proponent of organic,
Yeah.
right? And gluten-free. If you have celiac, we have gluten sensitivity. But you look at these organic, gluten-free snacks, cookies or otherwise, and parents are buying this up because it's fad, trendy, it's healthier for my kid, right?
Yes.
It has more sugar than the counterparts with the non-organic regular flour. So I'm beside myself with how much sugar we're actually consuming.
The reason why there's more is that just because they're trying to sort of make up for the lack of taste that
that's a good postulation.
The gluten being gone.
That's a good postulation. You know what it really is certain refined flours. In this case, rice flour has a higher GI. Which is otherwise known as glycemic index. And this is a really important conversation to have. Glycemic index is actually how quick a food will enter your bloodstream.
Yeah.
And it's compared against sugar itself. So sugar has a glycemic index of 100. Everything else is compared against that. Well, white rice flour, ultra refined, such as in organic gluten-free product, has a higher glycemic index in many cases than sugar itself.
Okay, let's talk about hidden sugars now.
Yeah.
So we know when we're taking in sugar and we've bought something sweet like a donut or a croissant, let's talk about the hidden sugars in breakfast foods.
Right, because we know that that's sugary. We know that donut's sugary. We know what we're expecting, we're cheating, or we're not, we haven't bought into health yet.
Right.
But this is what's hidden. So in 2 trenches of white bread, you're going to find almost a teaspoonful of added sugar. Okay, almost a teaspoonful of that. But here's the bottom line. I just told you, refined foods, such as white bread, is going to absorb so quickly into the body. The glycemic index is almost 100.
Right.
So that's not just a hidden, but that's directly...
It goes through quick.
Very quick, and it's going to turn into fat tissue. Here's what's going to shock a lot of folks. I'm going to tip this up for the camera. This is what they mean by serving sizes in your cereal, your morning cereal. Now, you'd think this very sugary kid cereal is going to actually have more sugar than this.
Yeah, you would think.
Than the bran with the raisins in there. Actually not. This has got 2 extra teaspoons. This one's got 3 if we also consider for a little bit, like a half a cup of milk. Yeah, I heard the crowd go, whoa, right?
How about yogurt? A lot of us have yogurt
regular
for
serving
breakfast.
size.
We think that that's good and healthy.
3/4 of a cup, 2 huge tablespoons of sugar. Milk. Milk's good for the body, right? Well, it's got another 13 grams. This is a serving size. No one's doing that.
Yeah.
Pops, we think juice is a lot more healthy. Juice has a tablespoon plus a teaspoon an additional to this cup of apple juice. It's shocking. So again, refined, have the apple, ditch the apple juice.
That's right.
And what will shock a lot of folks is that, of course, we expect a lot of sugar to be in soda.
Yes.
But tonic water has tonic water. Most people are like, oh, it's healthier. It's maybe a sugar-free form. It's got nearly within a couple of grams less than regular pop.
There goes my vodka tonics.
No, tonic, club soda is fine.
Just gonna have the vodka alone.
Club soda is fine. Club soda
Club soda's okay.
Club soda's really
All right, really quickly, before we go and before we talk about the really, really good stuff that you should be having in your body, I want to see this chart of your brain on sugar versus your brain on drugs.
Drugs, folks.
So,
they compared this. Yeah.
This is very interesting. What's happening here in these pictures?
Well, we're looking at the center of the brain, the reward center, and what sugar does, just like cocaine, you're looking on the right of your screen, almost the same amount of areas lit up by dopamine response receptors, which are reward centers, as if you were taking cocaine, snorting cocaine.
Yeah.
That's what. So when you
feels
crave,
good.
Yeah, it feels good. You crave it, and then you ingest it. Those dopamine receptors go off, and your body thinks, "Wow, that was really enjoyable," and then it wants it more.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. This is the stuff we should be eating.
I tell everyone all the time, this is a rainbow of fruits and vegetables every day. Focus on the dark green leafies and focus on the dark blue and purple. But get the red, orange, yellow, green, blue, and purple every day. At least 7 to 10 cups. A cup is half. Rather, a serving is half of a cup.
Yeah.
All right? So 7 to 10 servings. That's not hard to do when you make a salad, you make a soup, and you take that fresh apple to work.
It is definitely doable when you look at what a serving size is, for sure.